And now another racing week begins in the world in thoroughbred racing. Welcome to the TVG studios in Los Angeles for the Morning Line. I'm Todd Schrupp, very pleased to be with my good friend of so many years now, Matt Carruthers. Matty, how are you?
Good to see you in the morning. We hadn't worked together for a couple of months. We worked together on Saturday and get to see you again here on Wednesday.
Woke up to some very sad news. All of us in the racing world did yesterday. The news that Sir Henry Cecil, at the age of 70, had passed away. He had been battling cancer since at least 2006, and he finally succumbed to that disease. He will be remembered not only as one of the best trainers in England, but clearly one of the best trainers anywhere in the world. More than 3,000 victories in his career, 25 English Classic victories, and Sir Henry Cecil has passed at the age of 70.
Yeah, 10 times your champion trainer in England. You mentioned the 25 British Classic races, 4 English Derbies, 8-time winner of the English. I think the 75 wins at Royal Ascot, probably out of all these amazing stats you're looking at right now, is the one that really jumps out.
And you can understand with how beloved he was when he got that first win in the Breeders' Cup with Midday in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. It was widely celebrated. Joining us on the phone now is our colleague from overseas, Graham Cunningham, who's followed Sir Henry Cecil throughout his training career very closely. And Graham, it really is a sad time and a time for reflection.
Absolutely. Hi, Matt. Hi, Todd. Good to be with you today.
Graham.
It is a very, very sad day. But what an astonishing life and career to celebrate. Some sports people have charisma. Some sports people have great achievements. Not too many blend the two in the way that Sir Henry Cecil did.
And Graham, it's kind of amazing for all the great numbers that he put forth. He really struggled, right? It was, announced that he had cancer. He found out back in 2006, stomach cancer, something that took his brother 6 years previously in 2000. But he only had 12 wins as a trainer in 2005. He went through a dark period, didn't he? And the way he was able to rally the last several years really says a lot about him.
Absolutely. That is key to this story. Everyone loves a person who fights back from adversity. And as you say, Matt, Sir Henry had 12 winners. This is a guy who used to train 200 horses and 200 real blue bloods, down to 50 or so horses, a dozen winners in 2005, diagnosed with stomach cancer in 2006, had lost a twin brother to cancer back in 2000, his twin brother David. And at that point on, he said, this doesn't beat me, not yet anyway. He set about rebuilding his life and his career. He got married again to Lady Jane Cecil. That gave him tremendous pleasure and comfort through his final years. And bit by bit, he pieced that career together again. And he was on the floor back in 2005. But when Light Shift won the Oaks for him, his first classic for a long time, a couple of years later, he was rolling again. And slowly but surely, the strength returned, both physically and in terms of the horses at his disposal. And it all peaked last year and the year before with the flawless Frankel.
There is this tie-in now that people want to draw between his greatest champion, Frankel, and his health situation. Some want to say that Sir Henry Cecil really continued his battle only to be around for the exploits of Frankel. These two are now really linked in almost a spiritual way.
Yeah, and I go with that completely. This is a story we can all relate to, even if we haven't been around superb thoroughbreds. Every one of us and every one of your viewers today will have relatives who've battled cancer. They may have battled cancer themselves. And Henry Cecil gave them something to hang on to in the way he fought his fight quietly, with dignity, getting up for work each day and being sustained latterly by this incredible horse. If you want to read an absolutely brilliant summation of this guy's life, go to www.independent.co.uk and read one of our foremost racing writers, Chris McGrath. And if you didn't know Sir Henry Cecil beforehand, you certainly will when you finish reading. His account of Cecil's life, character and struggles is impossible to beat. And I firmly believe that right through the last 3 seasons, Sir Henry Cecil and Frankel have been absolutely inextricably linked. This is a guy who, he has thousands of painted toy soldiers in his office. He has thousands of ornate silk ties and handmade shirts. He absolutely values the exquisite above everything else. Frankel was an exquisite jewel that he had to polish, and it was absolutely essential to him that his life's work would not be complete without maintaining that superb Colts unbeaten record. And that's what he did right to the end. Those 2 days at York, the Juddmonte International Stakes at York last August, and the Kipco Champion Stakes at Ascot last October, Sir Henry Cecil appeared on track looking in desperate trouble physically. He was fresh out of chemo on both occasions, but he had to be there to see his pride and joy write those final 2 chapters in his career. And the day when Zenyatta lost her unbeaten record to blame at Churchill was something I'll never forget. But I don't expect to see anything more dramatic than the sight of Sir Henry Cecil at York and Ascot, and the counterpoint between his frailty and the wild exuberance and brilliance of Frankel.
And that expose that Graham Cunningham is talking about, the tribute to Sir Henry Cecil on The Independent, is actually provided on a link. If you follow Graham Cunningham on Twitter, as I do, he provided a link. It's as magnificent as you said. And I also noticed another article in there and a quote, and I wanted to read it to you because some guys who get to the top of the game, I draw a comparison to our legendary trainer here in America, and that was Bobby Frankel himself, who died at the age of 68 from cancer. And when he was competing at the highest level, he didn't make a whole lot of friends, and I don't think people really got to know him, the true Bobby Frankel. And it seemed like Sir Henry Cecil was the same way. But I think the greatest tribute when someone like that passes are the rivals, where it was so heated at one time. And in the case of Sir Henry Cecil, it was Sir Michael Stout who actually paid a tremendous tribute to Sir Henry Cecil in The Independent when he put it this way: "I do not believe this country has ever produced a better trainer than Henry. I know there has never been one so loved." That's pretty amazing when the guys that competed against him come out and say words like that.
Yeah, they trained pretty much next door to each other in Newmarket, probably about 100 yards apart for 4 decades, 5 decades perhaps, right through the 70s and onward. And they were fierce rivals and competing for the same owners for many, many years, all over Europe and beyond. But you know, these guys have tremendous respect for each other. Luca Camani, another one, he just said on a tweet yesterday, "Farewell, Maestro. There has never been one to match you." And you just look at the record, Todd. Our classic races, the 1,000 Guineas, 6 wins, the 2,000 Guineas, 3, the Derby, 4, the Oaks, 8, and the St. Leger, 4. As Matt touched on, and this is unbelievable, there are some fine trainers in Europe who have struggled to get 1, 2, or even 3 Royal Ascot winners. Sir Henry Cecil had 75 with some unbelievable thoroughbreds among them. But it was the combination of that brilliance, sustained brilliance over a long period, and the character. He had this very unusual blend of the aristocrat. His upbringing was very, very privileged, but with a real common touch. And the ordinary Joes at the track, the ordinary horse players, would approach him, and he would give them as much time and as much affection as any member of the aristocracy or any significant owner. He would stop chatting with them. And one of the great things, and it might just have been a device, but I don't think it was, it's always tremendous when someone you respect hugely, a hero of yours, asks you what you think. And Henry Cecil used to do that. You would ask him about a horse of his, and he would say, "But what do you think about him?" And it suddenly brought you into the magic circle, and he gave thousands and thousands of racegoers untold pleasure by doing that.
When you look at Sir Henry Cecil, not only his accomplishments, but the time that he ruled racing over there, has that time passed in racing? Because I think of Bobby Frankel and what he did over here, and I'm not sure that the game is the same as obviously when he came up and what he accomplished. Can there ever be another Sir Henry Cecil?
Probably not. I think they broke the mold, and you're right to touch on the passing of Bobby Frankel. There were people who have similarities, but never quite the same. And maybe it's a sign of our own advancing age and mortality, Todd, but you just get the feeling like a link with a golden age has been broken by the passing of guys like this. Now, there's still a tremendous amount to enthuse over in horse racing. All the while, new heroes are coming on the scene, being created, human and equine. But these are guys who had careers which were incredibly vivid, incredibly successful, and incredibly colourful, sometimes controversial as well, but always newsworthy and always high-end thoroughbreds year in, year out.
Graham, it's so difficult in this day and age to keep your relationships going with owners. Talk about the relationship that he had with Juddmonte Farms and that long relationship and how it just worked. What worked about that relationship?
Yeah, I think there were two very, Prince Khalid Abdullah and Sir Henry Cecil, two very quiet achievers in their own ways. Prince Khalid in business, Sir Henry in horse racing. And you're right, Prince Khalid was a bellwether for Sir Henry Cecil. He never wavered in his support for one moment. He was rewarded by the likes of Frankel and dozens of other high-quality horses, but some did waver. Back in, I think it was about 1996, Sheikh Mohammed had a fairly long-running disagreement with Sir Henry Cecil about various aspects of the way his horses were being trained. And overnight, those horses, I think there were 40 plus, left Warren Place. And Sir Henry had to regroup again. But Prince Khalid never wavered. He was there in the early days. He was there through the great times in the 90s. He was there through the very lean times in the later 90s and early 2000s. And he was there for those final glory days with Frankel and good horses like Twice Over, who ran very well in a Breeders' Cup Classic. So all the great trainers need good, supportive owners, and I don't think any trainer ever had a greater ally than Prince Khalid Abdullah. And it's so poignant, so sad that Prince Khalid's had serious illness troubles, that his main American trainer, Louis Frankel, should succumb to cancer, and now at the age of 70, Sir Henry should depart the same way. So we're all getting older. If nothing else, instances like this tell us that we should live our life strong and hard and try to achieve in the way these guys did.
Graham, that is well noted, and we thank you so much for taking time. I'm sorry it was under these circumstances, and as this has become more of a global game, thoroughbred racing, we have all felt a significant loss with the passing of Sir Henry Cecil. Thank you for providing some wonderful insight once again.
It's a pleasure, gents. Good luck to you.
Graham Cunningham, and I advise anyone, if you're not following him on Twitter, check him out. He has great insight on the game, both overseas and here, and he does have a link to that story at The Independent, which I thought was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and